In the fading light of a dusty New Mexico sunset, where the horizon blurred into an endless sea of crimson and gold, Jack Harlan stumbled upon the intruder in his isolated ranch house, her silhouette framed against the cracked window like a ghost from a forgotten world. The door creaked open under his weary hand after a long day mending fences, and there she was, an Apache woman, her dark hair matted with sweat and dirt, her eyes wide with a mix of defiance and desperation, clutching a worn blanket around her slender frame as if it were her last shield against the cruel winds of fate. She didn't flinch when he raised his lantern, illuminating the bruises on her arms and the dried blood on her lip. Instead, she met his gaze steadily and uttered words that would upend his solitary existence forever, declaring her intent to remain in this stranger's home, a plea born from the depths of survival that pierced the silence like a thunderclap. If you believe in the power of kindness and the beauty of second chances, hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your own story of unexpected compassion, share this video with someone who needs a reminder of humanity's warmth, and don't forget to subscribe to Moments of Love for more tales that touch the soul. Jack Harlan had lived alone on his sprawling ranch for over a decade, ever since the fever took his wife, Sarah, leaving him with nothing but the echo of her laughter in the empty rooms and the relentless grind of tending to cattle under the unforgiving sun. The ranch, perched on the edge of the Apache reservation lands, was a testament to his stubborn resilience, a cluster of weathered buildings surrounded by arid plains dotted with mesquite and sagebrush, where the only visitors were the occasional coyote or the wind howling through the canyons like a mournful spirit. Jack's days blurred into one another, rising before dawn to feed the horses, repairing the endless barbed wire that snaked across his property, and collapsing into bed each night with bones aching from labor and a heart heavy with unspoken grief. He had grown accustomed to the loneliness, wearing it like a second skin, convincing himself that solitude was safer than the vulnerability of connection, for every attempt at friendship in the nearby town had been met with pitying glances or awkward silences that reminded him of what he had lost. But on that fateful evening, as the woman stood before him, her presence shattered the fragile walls he had built, forcing him to confront the void that had consumed his life. She called herself Naya, a name that rolled off her tongue like the gentle flow of a hidden stream, though she revealed little else at first, her Apache heritage evident in the intricate beadwork on her tattered dress and the quiet strength that radiated from her posture despite her evident exhaustion. Naya had fled from the reservation after a brutal altercation with her abusive husband, a man whose temper had escalated into violence that left her fearing for her life, her journey through the desert a harrowing trek marked by thirst, fear, and the relentless pursuit of shadows in the night. She had stumbled upon Jack's ranch by sheer chance, drawn by the faint glow of his lantern like a moth to flame, seeking refuge in the one place that seemed untouched by the chaos of her world. Jack, initially wary, his hand instinctively reaching for the rifle by the door, found himself hesitating at the raw vulnerability in her eyes, a mirror to his own buried pain, and instead offered her a cup of water from the well, watching as she drank it greedily, her gratitude expressed not in words but in the subtle relaxation of her shoulders. That first night, he allowed her to sleep in the spare room that had once been Sarah's. The air thick with the scent of lavender from faded sachets, and as he lay awake staring at the ceiling beams, Jack felt the stirrings of something long dormant, a flicker of purpose amidst the monotony. The days that followed were a delicate dance of unease and adaptation, as Naya's declaration to stay hung in the air like an unspoken contract, challenging Jack to reconcile his isolation with this unexpected companionship. Mornings began with tentative interactions, Jack showing her how to tend the garden patch where wilted tomatoes clung to life, Naya sharing fragments of her knowledge about wild herbs that could heal wounds or soothe fevers, their exchanges woven into the rhythm of chores without the need for elaborate conversation. Yet, the challenges mounted swiftly. Whispers from the town reached Jack's ears when he ventured in for supplies, rumors of a runaway Indian, sparking judgmental stares and veiled warnings from neighbors who viewed her presence as a threat to the fragile peace between ranchers and the reservation folk. Jack grappled with his own prejudices, remnants of stories he'd heard growing up about old feuds and land disputes, his mind warring between suspicion and the growing empathy that bloomed each time he saw Naya mending a torn shirt with precise stitches or humming ancient melodies while preparing simple meals from his sparse pantry. Naya, too, struggled against the invisible chains of her past, nightmares jolting her awake in the dead of night, her body trembling as memories of blows and betrayals resurfaced, making her question if this sanctuary was merely a temporary illusion before the storm caught up. As weeks turned into months, the ranch transformed under their shared efforts, the once neglected fields blooming with unexpected vitality as Naya taught Jack forgotten Apache techniques for water conservation, channeling sparse rains into life-giving channels that revived the parched soil. Jack, in turn, opened up about Sarah, his voice cracking as he described the way she used to dance in the kitchen to the crackle of the radio, a vulnerability that drew Nia closer, her own stories unfolding like petals in the sun, tales of a childhood steeped in tribal traditions, the loss of her parents to illness, and the arranged marriage that had trapped her in a cycle of despair. Their bond deepened amid the vivid scenes of ranch life, riding horseback through golden valleys at dawn, the horses' hooves kicking up dust that shimmered like stars, gathering around the fire pit under a canopy of constellations, where the crackle of flames mirrored the warming of their hearts, and facing down a fierce dust storm that rattled the windows, huddling together in the dim light, their hands brushing accidentally yet meaningfully. Suspense built as signs of Nia's husband appeared, a shadowy figure spotted on the horizon, anonymous threats scrawled on the fence posts, testing Jack's resolve to protect this woman who had become more than a stranger, forcing him to confront his fears of loss anew. The turning point came during a brutal winter night when illness struck Nia, her body racked with fever from an infected wound sustained in her escape, leaving Jack to nurse her through delirious hours where she whispered of spirits and ancestors, her fragility exposing the depth of his attachment. He rode through blinding snow to fetch medicine from the town doctor, defying the elements and the skepticism of those who questioned his loyalty to an outsider, returning to find her on the brink, her recovery a slow miracle that cemented their unspoken alliance. From there, things began to change irrevocably. Jack found himself laughing for the first time in years as Nia teased him about his clumsy attempts at weaving baskets, and she discovered a sense of belonging in the quiet routines, her spirit mending alongside the ranch's fences. External pressures mounted, tribal elders seeking her return, legal entanglements over land boundaries, but their united front, forged in shared adversity, turned obstacles into stepping stones, with Jack advocating for her intense meetings and Nia standing tall beside him, her resilience inspiring him to reclaim his own life from the shadows of grief. In the spring that followed, as wildflowers carpeted the plains in a riot of color, symbolizing renewal, Jack and Nia's story evolved into one of profound healing, their lives intertwining like the roots of ancient junipers, strong and enduring. The ranch, once a monument to loneliness, became a haven of quiet joy, where sunsets were shared on the porch with cups of herbal tea, and the future stretched out like the open sky, filled with possibilities neither had dared to dream. Jack realized that Nia's arrival had not just filled the empty spaces in his home but had reignited the spark of humanity within him, teaching him that second chances could bloom in the most barren soils, while Nia found in him a partner who saw her not as a burden but as a beacon, her declaration to stay evolving into a mutual vow of companionship that transcended words. If this story has touched your heart and reminded you of the transformative power of unexpected connections, please like, comment with your thoughts on what kindness means to you, share it far and wide, and subscribe to Moments of Love for more emotional journeys that inspire. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What line from this story resonated with you the most, and why?